We're out wandering as usual, and Susan and I got to talking about the last 8 years that we've been living and traveling full-time in an RV. And most of our conversation has been completely positive. Our experiences have been wonderful, and we don't see an end in sight. We're just enjoying what we're doing.
Although we're grateful and certainly not complaining, and the positives definitely outweigh the negatives, there are a few negatives that we have experienced that we're going to share in this video.
First up is something that I deal with a lot, and that is not being able to leave things out and set up. For example, in our house, I had kind of a studio and an office and everything, and these things were set up and they were just left there. I could just leave that room, close the door, go into another room. And it's not that way in the RV. A lot of the things that I get out, I have to put away. If I don't, I leave them sit out, and it's just a constant, I guess it's a stressor, just seeing all that stuff piled up that we're not using at the time. And then some things I won't even bother getting out because we're taking off again. But we recently switched from a laptop that I had problems with to a desktop computer, believe it or not. And so setting that up is not as convenient as just pulling out a laptop. We plan to change that, but that's just the way it is now. And so that's been quite a negative to me. I mean, you deal with it, you find ways around it. I mean, there's worse things in life, but that is one.
Yeah, and I have, some decor things inside that I like and appreciate when they're out. But sometimes if we're going to be moving again, I just don't even bother to get it out, and that's partly laziness on my part, I guess. So definitely not a deal breaker, but something that is a bit of a negative.
Yeah, it's fun when we take off and it's already packed because we didn't unpack it. But other than that, yeah, it is kind of a concern for us here and there.
Another thing that we have found to be a bit of a negative is that if you're like us and you have to work or work occasionally, you are constantly having to keep your resume updated and interview for jobs. And looking for a job is worse than doing most jobs, I think. A lot of people stay in jobs that they really don't like because they don't relish the thought of having to find and apply for and interview for another job. And if you're doing seasonal work and moving around, you're going to be doing a lot more of that. So that has been somewhat of a negative for me anyway.
Yeah, they say that that's right up there with the stressors and everything. And like Susan said, when you're living this type of lifestyle and needing to work, that could come on more frequently than maybe it does if you're stationary somewhere. And I know with some of the type of work that I've been doing in the past and plan to do in the future more so is like seminars and workshops and things like that are a little bit easier to do and manage when you're in an area that you can stay in to promote it for a while. We are looking for creative ways around this and have been doing it with a little bit of success, but we'd like to ramp that up a little bit. And it is a little easier if you're completely stationary, but we'll find workarounds. Another thing that's been a negative for us in this lifestyle has been having to do with getting repairs done. Fortunately, this hasn't been a huge issue for us, considering we've been doing this for 8 years. But in a house, we were able to have wide open options. I mean, just so many people that could come and do this, and it was just a matter of picking and choosing. And these things tend to be a lot more difficult or sparse to come up with places to either go to get repairs done or have somebody come out and do it.
Yeah, you could potentially be waiting weeks or even months just to get an appointment for a repair. Then when you have to get the repair, you may have to take your home into the shop, unlike having a repair person always come to your house and quickly do the repair. You may have to leave your home for a few days. Fortunately for us, Bernie has been able to handle a lot of the things that we have needed to have repaired, so that's been really good.
Yeah, that has been good. I know that, like Susan said, we don't have to have somebody tell us, bring your house in, but that could happen with the RV lifestyle. It could just put you in a really bad situation or uncomfortable to say the least.
Yeah.
And, you know, like Susan said, we've been able to handle most of the repairs ourselves, and that's great. And there is a lot of resources out there for finding out how to do those things. So
Yeah.
we've been staying on top of it so far, and we're very grateful for that.
We are, for sure. Living full-time in an RV with a dog is another thing that is somewhat of a negative, because when we had our house, if he wanted to go out, we simply open the door, let him out, he does his thing. In the RV, you always have to leash up and walk the dog. The dog walk area may be a ways away, could be raining, could be cold, could be the middle of the night, you might be sick, but you've still got to walk the dog. You can't just let him out.
Yeah, and depending on where you're at, this can be more or less difficult, but mostly with RVing for us, it's been having to go to an area that's designated and have other people around and things like that. So you have to take more precautions. Of course, you're always leashed and everything, and you're obviously going to pick up immediately. Whereas if you have a yard and you know the weather's really horrible out there, it can stay for a day or so.
Yeah, so I mean, this is something that you would have to deal with living in an apartment or something like that. But for us, coming from a house, it was a little bit of a negative.
Yes. Because of the particular type of RV setup that we went with, that is a truck and a fifth wheel, we are always having to travel around in our workhorse type vehicle. Not complaining, but it is definitely a lot harder than some other options.
Yeah, one time the truck was in for repairs and we had a rental car, just a regular car, and boy, was that a difference, being able to just pull into a parking space or whatever. Great gas mileage.
Yeah, the truck that we have, we love it, but it's definitely made for being under a load, having a load with it. It's not made for absolute comfort. We do enjoy it, and we're so grateful to have it, but that is something that has changed quite a bit for us, and it can be considered a negative for us.
Yeah, I mean, we used to have a truck. Bernie always had a truck, but we also had a car, so just a smaller car. So just having everything have to be in the big truck is a little bit of a negative.
Yeah. Susan and I are certainly not complaining. Most of our experience has been positive.
None of these things are deal breakers, and we're still enjoying doing it.
Comment and let us know what you think.
And please remember to share, subscribe, and click on that little notification bell.
Thanks for watching.